Hey everyone, Inkwelder here for 90s MTG Webcam League. I'm against Drummer08, 2-0 so far in the league. And this one is against Blue Painter. So I haven't had to do a Painter mirror in a little bit of time, and they're usually crazy fast, and if it's the red mirror, it's awful because of Goblin Welders on both sides, and it's pretty taxing. It's fun, but it's taxing. And in this case, Blue Painter is different. It's red versus blue, and so it's a little bit more interactive sometimes. But this hand, pretty decent on so many levels. I can open with Badlands Welder. I can keep up Red Blast if I want. I've got Ancient Tomb Painter Acceleration. I've got Ancient Tomb Saga, and then I also have Karn if I need it. So my opponent did mull to 5 here. So he opens with Spire, Petal, Bauble, and Grindstone, and so I know that I'm obviously against Blue Painter at this point. It's pretty clear. He sees me with an Engineer, so he knows that he's in the mirror. I don't want to get Force-of-Willed on the Welder. I have a Red Blast, right? There's like no reason for me to run Welder into a Force of Will. It's the most important card in this matchup, and so I just play Badlands Pass. I can counter a Thoughtcast or something if I really needed it, or like it's too early for Thought Monitor or Kappa or anything like that, but they play Ancient Tomb Pass. Now I can jam Welder, and if they try and counter it, I can counter back. But with the Welder, this is going to be much more reasonable for me. They activate Grindstone on me and put a Nile Spellbomb in my graveyard. The Welder's summoning sick, and they have Soul Guide Lantern. You normally don't want to grind a Goblin Welder, but a Goblin Welder deck. But in that case, it made sense because they had Soul Guide Lantern, and so they could actually use it as an offensive tool to like remove things from my deck. So they try Thoughtcast, and I Red Blast it. And I've got the Engineer in hand, but I also have Karn. So I want Karn primarily to protect against a Painter activation immediately on their side. So I swap their Lotus Petal for their Bauble, and that's to play around Metallic Rebuke. So now they only have one card in hand, so this Karn is resolving. It's my way of guaranteeing resolution of Karn. And now they Bauble me in response, and they see that I've got a Red Blast on top of my deck. I go and wish for Coding. There's no reason to do Lattice here. It's against an artifact-heavy deck. There's no point. Defiler isn't doing anything right now. Defiler would be okay, but Coding is just way better, given that I have Karn. So he plays Seat, which doesn't do anything because it's turned off, which is fine. Welder's going to take over the... Welder and Karn is like, I don't think you're beating that. I guess for other Painter players, whenever someone plays Karn or Oof or something against me, I always turn my artifacts upside down so that I know that they don't work, because a lot of times I'll get in my head and think of lines and I forget that they're turned off. So I can play Coding here and coat their Spire. They float mana. I uptick, blow up the Spire, and now I've got Engineer, and they can't counter it because of I think they still had just one card in hand, and they scoop it up. So yeah, games where I have Welder, if I can be interactive with what they're doing, I'm gonna have a really good chance. So for the board, I board out Painter. I don't want to be the one to play the Painter, so I board out 3. I can get them with Karn also, and I bring in Fury and Needle. Needle for Emery, and their Grindstone if I needed it. I have a very Goldfishy-ish type hand. It's very like aggressive with Great Furnace and Grindstone and Opal and Tomb. All of that is fast mana. I've got the one Painter that's left in my deck. So this is a combo-oriented hand, but I have Fable to sit back on. But I unfortunately don't have any of my Red Blasts or any interaction. So they open with a pretty fast mana-heavy like Grindstone. I'm gonna do the same thing. We we do just about the same thing with opals and grindstones and artifact land or artifact mana. He's got a second grindstone, doesn't do anything, but they have a bunch of like improvise stuff, so it's good for that. I play Fable and they metallic rebuke it, which, okay, yeah, I needed that Fable pretty much. Otherwise I just need to go for the combo. I don't have a lot going on otherwise. So they play Soul Guide Lantern, hit my Fable. Soul Guide Lantern's good. If I had something in my deck to shuffle, they'll be able to grind me. Yeah, they basically are moving along pretty nicely here. I need to get some action. So I play another Fable. I could have played Painter there, and I should have. Me having the Lotus Petal meant that I had 5 mana, so I could play Painter and activate. But they have a Painter, and they punish me for playing Fable because I have no interaction and they have 3 mana on board. And so I'm just waiting for them to activate. I want them to go for it. And they decide to do it. Now, if I had gone for the Painter line, and I should have, but if I had done it, I would have hit Gaia's Blessing in their deck, but I at least would have seen their deck as a result, and that would have been helpful. But right now, going into Game 3, I still think Painter is a good line. So on the play, I'm going to take Fable out because it's a great card. It's one of the best cards in our deck, but I'd rather have Magus, and I don't want to taint the curve, and I don't want to get rid of my fast mana. This hand is nuts. Welder Engineer with an artifact land, Lightning Bolt for interaction, and I've got Fable. Like, this is just like if they don't counter my goblins, this most decks can't deal with this kind of thing. You have to be a combo heavy deck, and this deck is permanent base combo, and they are very weak to Defiler. So I open with Welder because I'm on the play. And I didn't want to run out the Great Furnace because if they had a hand like last time, but they have Haywire Might and they have Lotus Petal, they could blow up my Great Furnace. And that would be devastating with the hand that I have. So I instead run Badlands out first. Now I can play the Engineer. I've got Petal up so that I have Lightning Bolt. So if they do go for the Grindstone again, I can bolt their Painter. But with Engineer, I go get Defiler. It's going to take over the game unless they remove it, but I need to get rid of that Haywire Might. I can't let that thing start to exile my artifacts. Although if it did, I've got Karn and I can get them back, but that's like very cumbersome. I've got the next turn I'll be able to use Engineer and be able to defile twice per turn, which is good. So I would imagine that I'm going to jam Fable here, which is obviously great with the goblins. But swing with Defiler. The fact that it's a 5/4 is just ridiculous. I play Fable and they rebuke it, which is fine. I'm guessing they didn't have mana to rebuke last turn. They would have rebuked the Engineer, I'm guessing. But yeah, they're casting a bunch of Grindstones, which if they had gone for it here again, I've got Lightning Bolt and I've got the Welder up, so I can weld their Painter out. So now at the end of their turn, you always sack Defiler with Engineer. Make sure you always do that because Engineer can't get Defiler back. And so I can blow up 2 of their permanents per turn, and I get rid of both their Grindstones. So they need a bounce spell. They must bounce. They need Painter into Hibernation. Hibernation is return all green permanents to owner's hands, and so it's basically a 3 mana upheaval if you name green with Painter. I've always wanted to make a deck with that, but yeah, they basically can't play any permanents, and again, they're permanent based combo deck, so it's they have to bounce it, and they I think know that I have Red Blast in my hand, so I've got a Pyroblast or whatever, so I can start making constructs. They are at 5. They've got to have some form of an answer. But I've got plenty lethal on board, and this is why I love this deck, is that it just has so many angles of attack. It's so interactive for us. But I swing Hercules and I Pyroblast the Hercules, and yep, that gives me the W. So GG's Drummer. This is a really fun matchup. I do think Red Painter is heavily favored because of Goblin Welder, Chaos Defiler, and also the fact that I do happen to have Karn in my deck right now. That is very good against Blue Painter, or any Painter variety. So yeah, I thankfully kept their board under control in game 3, and yeah, I didn't get to do any Magus shenanigans, but damn, I love turn 1 Magus against decks. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed watching. I'll keep jamming games and trying to do commentary on different matchups for Painter for people that are trying to learn the deck. It's pretty complicated. Bosch and Roll did a video and he went 1-4 with the mono red Painter. And it's because the deck has a lot of complicated lines that you need reps with. Bosch and Roll isn't like an amazing MTG player, and so it just shows how complicated this deck can be. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and take care. Bye.